Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gypsy Poet Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/GypsyPoet. I am the Gypsy Poet, and of course, with me is the fabulous, sparkling, and hilarious Girl George. Yes, people, Girl George. Say it with me. Girl George, Girl George, Girl George. Oh, Girl George. And, of course, Girl George never fails to bring some amazing people on the program on GPR here. And I have got to really get the story and the scoop on this next guest. What an awesome dude I'm encountering this afternoon. He is the awesomely talented singer, songwriter, musician. And yes, folks, that is a triple threat here in this industry. Brad Stubbs. Is everyone with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Hi, Brad.
George.
Me and Brad worked together in L.A. at Al's Bar. One night, he had his own band. He sang his own songs and stuff. One night, he came in with a mandolin. He was sitting on the side of the stage fucking around with the mandolin. I said, hey, why don't you play with me with that? He says, I don't know how to play. I just got it. I says, I don't care. So he came up and played mandolin with me, and he played mandolin for a couple of years. I guess he learned how along the way.
Well, you know, it's funny because I had the mandolin, and I wanted to play it, but I didn't have the nerve to play it for me or in my band. And you brought that. You just said, come on up and play, and that was how I started playing. That was when I really first started getting into the instrument, and, you know, you encourage anybody to do anything, so I was up there under your tutelage.
Well, that video of you and me and Naomi Ruth Eisenberg on fiddle and who was it?
Honey
Davis on bongos.
On bongos.
That's the best video ever of me in my whole life. And I've got tons and tons of video, but that's the best.
Well, that group, at that point, that was like the pinnacle, right? That was the peak of the Girl George and the Dragons.
Well, they just happened to catch it.
And we did
now, they
that.
missed the first 3-4 songs. He was too close to the stage, so he was under the speakers, so you could not hear it. You could hear the audience screaming, yelling, but you could not hear the words.
Well, who
but
was
then he
that?
moved out towards the audience, so the last 4 songs were perfect. You could hear the audience, you could hear us. You could feel the intensity, which I've been trying to catch on video all before that and ever since that, and that was the best I ever got on video.
It's a good document of Al's Bar, and you walk around there, too, and it just shows how utterly seedy it is. I mean, it's just, you see the graffiti on them. I think there's a part where, because I looked at it recently, and there's Honey Davis and Naomi putting on makeup in the bathroom.
Honey used to wear makeup on his eyes and stuff.
Yeah, well,
the outfit he had on was mine, that spandex outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Was one of
he
mine.
still wears stuff like that to this
well,
day.
Honey was only like 5 foot tall. I'm 5'6". He was a little tiny thing.
And I don't think he planned on playing bongos. I saw him earlier with his guitar, and I think
he wanted to play guitar, but Honey Davis has been playing with me off and on for years. He used to be my backup band on my TV show, but he plays very, very, very loud.
Yeah,
he plays just like Hendrix, and he's uncontrollable. And I knew if he was up there with me, he would overpower the whole thing. So I said,
hey,
you can't play
nobody
guitar.
else
Can't play guitar. So he says, oh, that's all right. I got some bongos in the car. I'll play that. So he played bongos.
Yeah, he was cool. That's very generous because, you know, he came in wanting to do one thing and did another. And it was a nice combo because that gave a lot of space to Naomi and me and you know, the solo and oodle around.
You two were so hot together. It was just amazing. The fiddle and the mandolin.
What a combination.
In a punk club, here we got a fiddle and a mandolin.
Well, that's Naomi Ruth Eisenberg, yeah.
Yes. That was so
Only
hot.
Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
and
we
then
did that other show.
Love-ins
You got to talk about that,
We did the
too.
Love-ins together at the park.
The Love-ins?
Remember the Love-ins? We
By
did
the
Love-ins
merry-go-round.
I did them for 10 years. I think you did 2 or 3 of them, and you made the flyer for it.
My buddy Gary McMahon did, too. I was wondering if he was the one who filmed you that night, or was that one of your friends?
No, that was one of my friends from the Love-In. He used to film the Love-In all the time, and I got him to come there to Al's Bar, and that's who filmed that certain thing. I forget his name. He was a drummer.
I had to think about how I even got to Al's Bar, but, you know, at that time I was just floating around in the city doing gigs, and somehow I ended up there, and it just became a favorite place, you know, after a while.
Well, Carlos Guitarless, you know him, right?
Yeah, he still plays around town.
Well, he used to play
LA.
with me in San Francisco, and I ran into him in L.A., and he was playing with Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs. And he says, "Oh, I got a place to show you." And he dragged me down to Al's bar. And I walked in the door. I had the sword on, the cape, and everything. I walked in the door, and they started applauding. I said, "This is a place for me."
Well, I went in there doing folk songs, and they were throwing shit at me. I mean, it was like that was the place where it was like hostile, or they were very
involved. Well, they loved me. They never throw shit at me.
Well, that's
but
why I had
anybody that went on in my place, they would throw shit at them because they liked me.
Well, there was
and
one
I used
guy
to write songs for them. I used to write about them and for them.
Yeah. Well, there's one guy up there. He that was his whole act, was to get them to yell at him. He'd sit up there and just read like a credit card application for 5 minutes straight until they couldn't take it, and they're screaming at him and yelling at him, and so that got me off my little love songs real quick, and that's why I had to start writing songs like you. Well, that's what I learned from you, was the dirtier. You even told me the dirtier the better. Stop
I
singing your
know
love
the song
song.
You wrote about the condoms.
Yeah.
You want to play doctor.
Condom song and Fake It For Me Baby, and I dreamt I had a menstrual cycle. I mean, I wrote a lot of funny stuff that isn't in my repertoire today, but it fit in perfectly at Al's, because that's what they wanted, and
they wanted it fast,
otherwise they
and
would
dirty,
turn on
and
you.
current, and new. They didn't want to hear the same shit over and over again. They wanted it, and it had to be fast. You had to kick them in the teeth and keep kicking them. You didn't lit up on it. You just keep kicking them.
Well, that band we took over to that Rodney Bingenheimer event too. We played with
that was the Imperial Gardens. Imperial Gardens on Sunset.
And there was some movie thing. Some movie rap party.
Mondo Hollywood.
Mondo Hollywood, that's it.
Somebody see me at the Love-In. We did the Love-Ins every year for 10 years. And
I just remember
see me at
going
the
on
Love-In,
real late.
"Oh, you got to play at this Mondo Hollywood thing." And so we played at Mondo, and I had the flu. I was barfing. I had to go that I was sick as a fucking dog. But we played anyway.
I ran into him a couple years ago, and he remembered you.
He did. Why? Did I barf on him? No, I barfed at home. I didn't barf there.
But I ran into him at some party, and I was like, "Yeah, I played at a gig with you with Girl George." Girl George? Oh, really? She's still around? I said, "Yeah, she's up in San Francisco." When did you leave L.A. anyway? What year was that?
1995.
95, okay.
Wendy went to Berkeley. Well, I wanted to come back home. This is my hometown. And L.A.'s just too fucking hot. I hate the heat there and the smog and shit. I love downtown L.A., but Al's bar was dying, so, that wasn't really happening anymore. So I wanted to come back here, so when it was time for her to go to college, I talked her into applying at Berkeley, California, Cal Berkeley.
Yeah.
And she got in right off. She went to Cal. So then I just followed her up here. So I left in 95.
There's actually a couple of bands I see some photos of I thought I'd ask you about. Can you tell me a little bit about the Stubbs Brothers and A Likely Story?
Okay. Oh, yeah, that was, the Stubbs Brothers is my brother Rick, and that was the band we put together when we came out here. But first we were Likely Story, and we were kind of sounding like Missing Persons was kind of our vibe at the time, that kind of rock music, new wave almost. And after a while, we started becoming the Stubbs Brothers because that's who we were anyway. We played a lot of places up on the Strip, and we did some shows with George.
At the Palomino. Yeah, we did Condom Night at the Palomino.
We did Condom Night. That gig we were going to do with the Zeros, and they dropped out of the gig, and all of a sudden there was this night booked at the Palomino, and it was like, well, we're going to lose it unless someone takes it over, and I took it over. And I guess because of the Condom song, we had Condom Night. So it was Condom Night. I don't know, before condoms were involved. And the thing was, we weren't giving condoms away. You had to give a condom. You had to give a condom to get a buck off or a couple bucks off. And so at the end of the night, I had this, giant bowl,
then you put
punch
a
bowl
condom
full of
on
condoms.
top of John Flesh's head.
John Flesh had a condom costume. He was the MC of the night. Yeah.
No, I was the MC.
You were the MC. Well, what
he
did
just came up there mouthing off, and you stuck a bag on his head and said he was a dick.
Yeah, I
was the MC that night.
He always had a couple different characters he would do. He was an actor. He was a musician too, and wrote songs and stuff. But when he was hanging around with us, he was always doing these skits. And we did some other show at Al's Bar. I don't know if you were called Cabaret Satyricon with this group called Blue Palm. You remember them? Those two French
and Walter
dancers.
Zooey.
Walter
I
Zooey.
love Walter Zooey. Do you see him anymore?
Yeah, he runs a music school in South Pasadena, and he's an upstanding citizen of the community.
He married that French girl?
No, well, yes, he did, but he's been remarried. But his child grew up, and he's a great horn player, and he's played at the Hollywood Bowl. But he's got a music school in South Pasadena. He's got like really good teachers. He's got people that work with Frank Zappa, and he's got a lot of well-connected players that are teaching at his school. And
he used to come up and use my leg for a slide. He'd be playing his guitar, and he'd like run his guitar neck on my leg, ripping my stockings, motherfucker.
Yeah, he did unusual things. Well, it's anytime you're playing with George, you got to do something crazy, because that was what you were sort of encouraging people. You made me roll around on the floor on my back, which I would never do, but it just seemed appropriate with you. And that's kind of like you'd yell at someone if they didn't, get up there and be crazy.
No, I love the way Walter played. He was amazing.
Yeah, he's still around. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little
married
bit about
now, huh? Did you get married?
I did. What was that, Gypsy?
You got any kids?
No kids.
Oh, well.
Got a couple dogs, a cat.
Huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was going to ask, tell me a little bit about string theory. This looks interesting.
That's not me. That's some other group. That's an interesting band that I've been kind of watching and emulating, because they're doing something really cool. But they string this piano wire across the room or across the hall or the courtyard they're playing in, and they attach it to a harp in the middle of the room, and they kind of slide on it. They have a bow, but they play it with their hands, and they slide up and down it, and it's really cool. It's really got a world beat with sort of a hypnotic vibe going on, sort of a drone-y
really cool.
kind of thing. And I started getting interested in that, playing.
There's a lot of artists in L.A. I remember Cynthia Toronto. Remember her? Mm-hmm. Cynthia Toronto. One night they threw cups at her, and she threw them back. I never seen such a hell in my life. There's a million cups going back and forth off and on the stage.
You're talking about at Al's Bar?
At Al's Bar.
Well, that's what I mean. That would almost be a place that you could put chicken wire up, like you see in the Blues Brothers or something. I mean, it was friendly fire, but it was fire nonetheless. They would toss things, because so much of the audience,
at
the
me.
crowd was
One time a guy was trying to talk somebody. He was new there. It was the first time he was in there. I seen him right in front of me. He was trying to talk the guy into throwing something at me, and I jumped up to the I said, "Don't you fucking dare!" And Mark, the owner, is up on the microphone saying, "Don't fuck with George." So they never thrown nothing at me, even though one guy tried.
You're walking around with a sword. I mean, this is Hollywood, and if she just didn't do it at night, you'd walk around during the day with a cape and a sword. And can you imagine someone walking down the street with a sword now? I mean, you'd get so many calls to 911. There's some crazy lady walking down the street with a cape, and a sword,
get away with
and a guitar.
Awesome. Is there anything that you're working on now?
I'm doing well. Lately, I've been playing ukulele for the last couple years, and I try to experiment with different instruments and different sounds, and I kind of embrace them for a period of time. And I'd probably say more people like my ukulele stuff than anything, because it's just really pleasant and lilting sounding. If you like Hawaiian music at all, I kind of play like that. But I play atmospheric songs like Sting or Paul McCartney. And that's kind of cool. But I'm kind of moving out of that and looking for some new thing, and I've been getting into things called diddly bows, which are one-string instruments, and I bought a bunch of antique instruments, and you can do some experimentation with that. So.
How about a saw?
A saw? Yeah, things like that. Well, I bought this whole some artist made a whole band. He made a stand-up bass with one string on it, and drum set made out of pots and pans and toilet plungers, and it's just this,
kind of band.
Yeah, you think it's a total junkyard band, and I brought some buddies over and we started playing with it, and I realized that, like, I don't know how long I could even stand listening to this. It's like, it's hard to be real. I like to be musical, and it's like, wow, this, so it was a real challenge to play with these instruments and trying to make something cohesive out of it. I don't know if I'm still experimenting. I don't know, nothing I wanted to share yet.
Now I play at this place once a week on Wednesday as an open mic. And, well, I don't play guitar no more. My hands don't work. So I just sing, and I've got a portable mic. So now I can go around the whole place and terrorize the audience. I bring everybody up on stage, as always, and they make up stuff, as always. They make up the backup, as always. Anyone that can play and follows me. The guy that runs it, Paul Pod, he knows the song, And sometimes I'll make up new songs every week, and he'll just play the same song behind me, and I'll add the new words to it.
Well, that's your forte, is running the room. I mean, I've always been shy on stage, and that was the one thing I learned from you, is like to rile the crowd, and get them going, because if you get them on your side, you're going to have a great gig,
Well, if you make it part of it, then they have fun.
Well, they want to be told what to do. They're saying, like, entertain me, tell me what to do. You want me to sing something back to you? And Al's Bar was great for that, because, they start singing your songs. I remember I had one song I'd sang there, and they started singing a separate part, a new part. They were like,
they made up parts.
Yeah, and I said, I'm keeping that. That's pretty good.
That's what I like. And now we've got a lot of new kids that are, you know how I like the kids.
You like young
kids
folks.
That are like 21, 25, that are art school students, and they just jump right in. That's my crowd, always has been. And they love ad-libbing.
Well, I've listened to a couple of your shows on here. You had Helios Creed on, and Naomi, and Peter Case, and weren't you going to do something with Helios Creed at one point? Or?
Well, I've known him for years. I've known him since way before I met you. I knew him in San Francisco in about 1973.
Yeah,
we used to play at the same clubs together.
He was in a band called
Chrome. At that time,
Chrome,
he was a folk singer. I mean, he didn't sing. He played guitar, and the other guy sang, and he'd do things about, that Winnie the Pooh song, that Christopher Robinson. That's what they were doing then. And now he's that psychedelic space music.
Yeah, well, his reputation has only increased with time, I think.
Yes.
Where are you from originally?
Well, I grew up in Chicago. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were from Altadena or something.
I know, everyone thinks I'm from California. I don't know if or from L.A. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. It's like, I guess I fit right in with it. No, I was born. My family's from Pennsylvania, and everybody in my family played instruments, and that kind of family. We had like a family band, and when we moved to Chicago, and I grew up, and you see Muddy Waters all the time for free. You know how they. I live right in the center of L.A. now. You wouldn't believe it. I live right like Sunset and Vine. Last week I saw Paul McCartney. Free concert, walk 2 blocks up the street.
Wow.
I've seen Paul McCartney 2 blocks from my house 3 times now. And that's what's cool about, I keep thinking, like, why do I live in Hollywood? It's crazy, the traffic's it's just horrible. And then the things like that happen, And the next night, Justin Timberlake, or Patti Smith,
Wow.
There you go.
Well, so there's always something happening where you're at. So that's always a good thing.
Well, yeah, as much as you could say that since George has left, But remember, we used to play at Gorky's. Remember Gorky's up on Moanga?
Gorky's on Sunset and Vine. It was right there.
Yeah, it's now Sharky's. But we were playing there. Remember, there was a show there called the Hollywood Underground. It didn't even start till 2 a.m. in the morning. Was when the show.
It was an open mic that went all night long.
Yeah, and the crowd was like so drunk because it's 2 a.m. And that's
my crowd. I like drunk. The drunker the better.
Yeah, the bar is closed, and then they come over to here to get breakfast. And
we play at Cantor's too. The Kibitz room at Cantor's.
Yeah, I just played there recently with a friend.
That's still going,
funny.
Right?
What's that?
That's still going, right?
It's still going, but I took a picture of me. Actually, so you'd see it, and then I looked at a video. There's a video of us playing there.
I know. I've got the video.
And the same. I swear to God, the same pictures are on the wall. So it hasn't changed in 20 years. I swear. I'm looking at it. There's like a picture of David Bowie or Lou Reed on the wall, and it's like it's in the same spot. I even think it's still tilted. It's still got a little tilt on it.
Is that guy still playing piano there?
There's one. That guy. I think he's still running his. Yeah, those guys don't give up. Yeah, he's kept that night going. But that's a fun place to play. Canners.
But the Palomino died.
Palomino died.
That went for years, and Al's Bar died, and the Central train changed into the Viper Room.
That area has become really gentrified in a way. They've built up. It isn't a slum. In the old days, you'd be scared to death to go down there. The homeless guys, give me $1 so I don't break into your car, and it was. But now it's like there's like all these nice apartments around, and that's still that little block. There's like the Neon Art Museum, and they've got little sidewalk cafes, and people live there, and they walk their dogs, and they got little tiny patches of grass where the dog could go, do business.
What's at Al's Bar now?
It's something's still there.
It's not a bar though; it's a studio, isn't it?
I don't know. It's just the neighbor. It's just I don't know if I saw Al's Bar or what was there, but I just got I drove through the neighborhood. They have these cool events in L.A. now, like they're called Ciclavia, where they shut down the streets downtown and they open it up to bikes. And there's like tens of thousands of bicycles down there, and some of the bicycles are decorated like Burning Man style, and
cool.
And it's a really cool event they started. That was the one thing Antonio did before he left, and they do it like 4 times a year, and sometimes it goes down. Last time it went down Wilshire, down by the LACMA, and they had all the museums open, and there's like 1 million bikes, and it's just a cool thing in LA. Normal people, bikes, kids, art.
Don't they have a Joel Bloom Day down there too? You know who Joel Bloom is?
He's an Al's Bar guy?
He was from Al's Bar. He's the one that did the plays there. And they have a Joel Bloom Day where it's an art festival, music and art. Same old, yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about a friend of yours by the name of Richie Haven. What's the story behind Richie?
Oh, well, Richie, the voice of all voices. What a voice. I just met him at a concert out here, and I went to a couple shows of his, and he's one of these musicians that are just real friendly with the fans, and it was always my dream. He passed away recently, but I'm a songwriter, and he's just like looking for an angle to like say, Richie, I want you to sing one of my songs, please. But he's just a nice guy. It's funny. I remember he put his arm around me, and his hand. You know how he plays guitar funny. He uses his thumb as to play like a bar chord. Like you'd have to use your finger. He does it with his thumb, and he he plays with his thumb up and down the neck, and he just does these bar chords with this giant thumb, which is, I don't know, his hand is as big as my whole head. He's got these humongous hands, and he was talented up. He's one of those guys that like were still cool. He's an old guy, but he still had like a hippie vibe going on compared to like someone like Barry Maguire, that Eva Destruction guy. You see him and he looks like he should be selling insurance. Richie Havens is still cool,
Did you know they're having love-ins again out at Griffin's Park?
Are they doing that? I think I saw something in L.A. Weekly about
that.
There's
some girl named
Somebody else
Georgia Steele
go
Waller.
Tell her to stop doing that.
There's a girl named Georgia Steele Waller, and her old man is a guitar player from the group Love.
Yeah.
That group Love. And anyhow, they've been having a love-in out there for a couple years now.
They do that you always did that like April 1st.
It isn't the same day as us. I think they do it in September.
And they call that
we did it
love-in.
in April. So, but they're doing it again out there, not in the same spot. They're doing it over by the tennis courts or something.
Huh? Is that a good thing?
We had a better spot. I told them they should move it, but they ended up there, and so that's where they're doing it.
Well, you were real good at getting publicity. You got like Channel 7 and L.A. Times.
Well, that's because it started as a joke in the L.A. Weekly. It started as a joke in the L.A. Weekly, and
somebody actually showed up. You're right.
And everyone showed up, so I just carried it on every year. I sent it to them, and being it was their joke, they always ran it, and then everyone else ran it too. And then the news would come out there and shit. So it got pretty big. It went on for 10 years, every year for 10 years. And when I tried to help this girl Georgia with her love-in, John Dare, that used to write for the L.A. Weekly, he says, well, aren't you going to thank me? I'm the one that started it. And it turns out it's him that wrote that story that was a joke. It was an April Fool's Day joke, and there was a love-in at the park that we fell for, and we went out there anyway. And he says, I'm the one that wrote that story. You remember John Dare that used to write for the L.A. Weekly?
Yeah.
Okay, he's the one that wrote that story. He's up in...
Yeah, it was their joke,
in Seattle or somewhere up there now.
You mentioned earlier that you came from a musical family. I wanted to ask a little bit about your influences, about what brought you to become a musician outside of your musical family. Do you have any?
Yeah, well, I'd say first I just remember seeing my brother playing a garage band, as a teenage band, because he was the oldest brother, and I'd strum my tennis racket, along with him. That was how I got started. And sing along to Beatles records, and I used to run around the playground singing, "Help, I need somebody," while the girls are chasing me because we're acting out the scenes from Hard Day's Night, So I think that was how I first got into it. But I don't know.
So
I love everything and everybody. So,
Brad, what did your father do? What kind of work did your father do?
Well, my father was a salesman, but my father was a frustrated musician, and so that's why we're all musicians and artists, because he wanted to be one. So instead of having a dad that would bring his kid to Little League, this dad was putting guitars in our hands and play.
What did he play? Did he play guitar?
He was a banjo player and played harmonica, and he was in a band. He had little, the Kingsmen, those kind of, the Lettermen, right, those guys? Not the Kingsmen, that's Louie, the Lettermen. And he played banjo, and I have his banjo. I use it on recordings and stuff, after he passed away. But I heard Foggy Mountain break down until I couldn't take it anymore, But my brother played drums, and he'd do all these crazy polyrhythms all day. He'd play for 3 hours straight. And then the other brother, Rick, was a guitar player, and then I came along, and I was a guitar player and a singer, and we actually all three of us played together. But my brother, who was a drummer, is real kind of shy, so he didn't start songs off like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not very rock and roll, Tom.
Did your mother work? Did your mother do anything?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, sure, she works. She was a guitar player too. She taught me. Actually, I probably learned to play guitar from her. She had this little thing she did with singing that Tom Paxton song, "Where I'm Bound," and so, that was great. We would all sit and sing around the family. But being in a band with your brother is like being in business with your brother. And so, I'd come down to get gigs into the city. I'd work real hard. I'd be, we were playing at the Gaslight and the Central, and I've been at the Roxy and the Al's Bar and all. And he'd come in and he'd kind of throw a hissy fit or something, with the sound man, and because he was a perfectionist. One night we were at the Gaslight. Remember that place?
Yeah.
And
Baba ran that one. Baba ran a jam there.
They had the bathrooms up above the stage, and one night the pipes burst, and my brother got rained on from toilet water from up above, in the middle of the set. Their logo was Delightfully Crummy Bar. Yeah, they were pretty seedy. You'd see guys urinating in the corner.
I don't remember that. That must have been after my time.
Oh, my God.
You were around. I don't know if you were...
I don't remember anyone peeing in the corner.
Oh, well, I just like visions. I just had those. When you see something like that, it kind of sticks in your mind, like as an image, It was a silhouette. I could see the silhouette of the guy,
And speaking of silhouettes, I hate telling you this, but we're winding down to the last little bit of the radio program here. So I just wanted to ask you, is there anything you want to plug?
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's anything I want to plug right now. I mean, you can go to bradstubbs.com. and find out more about me. I also have some albums out. Techno Cowboy, I did one called Ziggy Stardust Omnichord album. I did a cover of David Bowie songs that actually I've been getting some play in Europe since his album came out. So that's kind of exciting. You know, he's got a really good album. Anyway, that's about it.
It was great talking to you again, Brad.
Yeah, George, we got to get
together.
What,
3-4 years?
Yeah, I want to come up there. You've got to have a reason to get the band together. Honey's right down the street. I know Naomi's up there. She's probably listening. You know, we just need a reason to, you know, make it worthwhile driving up there. Maybe your birthday.
Well, my birthday's coming up in about 3 weeks, so come on up.
Yes.
Put it together. All right, Gypsy.
Absolutely. Yes,
thank
you so much. Yes, thank you. And Girl George, thank you so much for a wonderful afternoon with the wonderful and talented Brad Stubbs on the show. Please check him out at bradstubbs.com. Also, be sure to check out the archived episode of this show right after it ends. So, oh my goodness. Girl George, thank you so much once again. It was fabulous. It was wonderful. And I am signing off. The Gypsy Poet says adio for now.
Ciao.
Bye.
I'll tell you about it. I saw old fat Elvis waiting on a bus. I saw Marilyn Monroe stuffing Kleenex down her bus. SpongeBob's pants covered in crust from the boulevard. The black shiny streets are made of glass. Long limousines go shrieking past. Not all dreams are meant to last. The boulevard, the streets, this old town, the streets beat you down. The streets of Hollywood, just thin veneer. Whoa, oh, oh, oh. That's a Hollywood. Sexy ladies with long tan legs, dirty faces that always beg. Guitar strummer lays an egg. The dollhouse dude has lost his home. He lost his hair, he lost his comb. Nothing left to do but roam. Roam the streets of this old town. The streets can beat you down. The streets of Hollywood are just a thin veneer. Whoa. Old fat Elvis still waiting on a bus. Marilyn Monroe puts on a little more blush. SpongeBob's pants are covered in crust from the boulevard. The black shiny streets are made of glass. They're slippery when wet, so watch your ass. Not all dreams are meant to last. On the streets of this old town, the streets can beat you down. The streets of Hollywood are just a thin veneer. Whoa. Dreamers, schemers, the lemurs. Not all dreams are meant to last. Not all dreams are meant to last. Not all dreams are meant to last.